Hello, everybody. This is Mike and Johnny from Did You Know Anime, and if you're watching this, that means you're watching the Season 1 commentary. It's not a track, we're not on a DVD, but I just thought this would be a pretty cool idea for, we're 4 seasons into Did You Know Anime now, and it's kind of crazy, and I think that, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and me and John have looked at a ton of different stuff, and there's just so much that we've wanted to talk about regarding these episodes, but you guys don't really get to hear. You get to hear a little bit of it in Johnny Lobo's Who Cares About Anime podcast at whocaresaboutAnime.com. But just sit back, relax, and enjoy the soothing sounds of 88 Fingers Edward. Outlaw Star.
That old intro. Very
It's hard to...
DBZ-esque font.
I was going to say, it is hard to believe that Outlaw Star is almost 20 years old.
I mean, I don't want this to turn into a circle jerk, but my god, where does it go? Where does it go? And here we go. Man, right off the bat. I really like that you did this, man. Shout out to outlawstar.co.uk, which is now, what's the new site?
Outlaw Star Nexus, outlawstarnex.us.
There you go. It's a different name, but same management. Blue Mantis, or just Mantis, if you'd like. And why don't you tell us a little bit about Mantis, Mike, and how you met him?
I mean, he's kind of, one of the reasons that Did You Know Anime exists in the first place, because I started getting into anime facts in, 2010, the end of 2010, because I found, and I mean, I had posted some, Tenchi facts way back in the day, but I found, when I was getting back into anime, and I found outlawstar.co.uk, the original site, and immediately Outlaw Star 2 Sword of the Wind popped up, and I was just, oh my god. And he, Mantis knows everything. Mantis is the creator of the site. They found the documents from Sunrise and Bandai, even if they weren't very good. But I mean, he definitely deserves a shout out, because none of this, Outlaw Star fans would not know anything without him. So, shout out to Mantis.
You might even say he is the galactic ley line of Outlaw Star fandom. That was a terrible joke. Okay, we'll try to raise the bar as we go further, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and lest we forget, for the first episode, Robin being the narrator. Thank you. Fantastic job.
Yeah, she's convinced a lot of people, and I think she has a phenomenal gym voice.
Yeah, this one more than probably any other when it wasn't the actual voice actor. I think a lot of the comments were like, yeah, is this Jim? Oh my god, did you get Jim? And it's like, you'd think it almost, but
I found this one myself. This is a tongue twister. Future retro hero story. I actually think this would be really cool. I think if he did something like this today, I think it would go over really well, because it's like it says right there in the video. It's more lighthearted. It's more comedic. It's about a quote unquote shonen character. So and it's sci-fi, yeah. So it's not going to be. Which still blows my mind that sci-fi isn't a huge element today, but I think it would stand out, because there's not a whole lot of characters like that.
Absolutely, and I think it kind of being a prequel in a way, and kind of you got to dig for it. I mean, in this day and age of, I think your Guardians of the Galaxy type movies have kind of proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, if you will, that you can absolutely do, you can pitch to the Uber fans. You can look under every rock and get some of that, buried treasure. Bring that to light, and people go nuts. I think anything more. We talked a lot about this on the whocaresaboutAnime.com. horrible self-promotion there. But yeah, on the Outlaw Star podcast, talked a lot about possible sequels and stuff. But prequel, sequel, I think anything more Outlaw Star, people would you just say jump and people would say how high.
I think it's pretty cool too. You know, a lot of people, when they think about shows being big in the West, they don't realize that west of Japan is still China. Like,
Yeah.
See, that was something that kind of blew me away. Was like, you look at, I mean, Outlaw Star was still obviously huge in America. I don't think quite as big as obviously Bebop or Trigun, but people don't realize that Outlaw Star was huge in Hong Kong. Like, it was arguably bigger than Trigun or Bebop is here, because Ito incorporated so many elements from Hong Kong. Like, he incorporated a lot of Chinese elements into it, and I think this was on Outlaw Star UK. He said that when he went to Hong Kong the first time, there were people waiting for him, and he was completely blown away. Like, it's big here. He was blown away. So just because a show is big. Just because a show isn't necessarily big in Japan or America doesn't mean it won't be big somewhere else. And just because something has Asian elements in it doesn't necessarily mean it'll be big in Japan, because it has a lot of Chinese elements in it.
I mean, that's a bad analogy here, I'm sure, but I mean, it'd be like if something French, over here, it's like, I don't know, an Asian person saying like, oh, they're both white, you're American, you love it, and we're gonna go not necessarily like, well, they're French, come on, like, I'm sorry, this isn't supposed to be a French-hating commentary, but it's that thing exactly. We kind of take that for granted. Oh, good, you got a bump there for both OLS Abridged and Anime America Podcast, which has done quite well.
Oh man, we're jumping into JoJo.
Man.
We go from a really high voice to Fish's really low voice.
And which, in case, as though there were any doubt, but in case anybody listening doesn't know this, Fish is like one of the coolest guys just on the planet right now. He's just great at what he does. He's like a professional, voice actor, but he's also hilarious when it comes to writing stuff for like, I know hasn't done it in a while, and he's got a lot of stuff on his plate, but I was a huge fan of JoJo's abridged series. It's hilarious. The writing of that is just hilarious, and on top of that, we were quote unquote nobody at this point, and you might asking him to do this, and he said, yeah, here you go, like, have fun. Like,
it says a lot about a guy. Like, we had maybe 100 subscribers, and
wow.
Antfish is a professional. Like, he's a professional voice actor. He gets paid to lend his voice to characters and is in video games and stuff. And for him to, he got back to us in less than 12 hours. Like,
wow.
he is a consummate professional.
And of course, Team 4 Star, I'm sure people know him from there. He's still doing a lot with them to this day. I remember him, that was one of the funniest things of DBZ Abridged when I was watching that when it was coming out. He's Dodoria, I believe. And he's just, great guy, hilarious guy.
Ain't that fun? And, hey, we need to put some text in there and put the Quran in there that Dio of all people is reading.
Wow.
I still have that. Like, that. If you buy any of the Super Techno Arts DVDs, it's still in there. Like, it's because that was before the whole controversy happened in the first place.
Wow. And that's something. And, not going to comment on, the reaction to that, overreaction, and all of that, but, hey, it made for a great fact. If nobody had made us think about it, we wouldn't have a cool fact, so. And, I believe I have that, somebody's certain set still, in safekeeping.
From Stardust Crusaders Jean-Pierre Polnareff.
Looking back at this video and looking at Benny Maru, like, they literally just took Polnareff and made him into a fighting game, like a fighting game version of Polnareff. It's yeah.
I think it's funny when we did this. Obviously, if people look at the upload date, the David production of the TV series of Stardust Crusaders did not exist yet.
No.
And so you've got people watching it now and are like, which I love that reaction. They see the 90s OVA and they're like, what's this older looking Stardust Crusaders? What is this? And it's like, that's exactly what it is. It's an older Stardust Crusaders. And
in his design as well as his morals. To a small degree,
both of us here, I think, I'm not alone, and we will sing the praises of the OVA. It's cool. It's worth a watch. If you like Fist of the North Star, if you like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure,
I still think to this day that the OVA has the best art style. Period. Like, it is such a. It is. Oh, it's perfect.
Did you know that there was a Phantom Blood movie made by the?
Hey, speaking of which, like, I would have loved to have seen this Phantom Blood movie because. Even though people hate on it because it didn't have Speedwagon, or it might have looked different, or it didn't follow it, like, I loved the OVA, and Studio A Triple P did it, so I have no doubt that they would have done a great job with it, even though it would have been a little bit different.
Yeah, if all the factors had aligned there. And that's another great thing about, like, you know, you still got kind of rumors surrounding it, and you still got, I mean, you know, this is pretty much all you're ever going to see of this movie, ever. It's just has a run in theaters, and then the head honcho says, shut it down, shut it all down.
Yeah.
And that's it, you know. Man.
Japanese theaters in 2007. That was
some lucky people there.
I'm kind of interested to see who leaked it. Like, they had, not only did they have background stuff, but they had obvious, like, finished stuff from the movie.
Other than trailers released for the movie, this is the only footage that currently exists.
Interview them like one of those. One of those 60-minute specials. They're darkened silhouettes to protect their identity. Voice modulator.
Don't you love that, Johnny? Looking at the YouTube channel and seeing 0 subscribers.
Make sure to check us out
Man.
at www.youtube.com/antfishtas.
Gosh, thank you.
Again, thank you,
Mr.
Antfish, for being, like, the man.
Even Speedwagon likes that episode. Here we go.
Oh boy, Sailor Moon.
It's another one, of course, I don't think Crystal was out. Or maybe it was starting. Nobody quote me on that. Trying to remember.
I still do not understand how some people, like, I get that the voice is a little bit high, but it's not, like, grating in any way, shape, or form.
No, I remember some of those comments, and it's like, you know, she has a lovely voice, and
not only that,
here
but
she chose to, you know, do it as, I mean, because that's the connection. She does Sailor Moon Abridged, and so she did the voice. I thought that was really, really fun, and I don't know. You have in the title featuring Megumi 33 from Sailor Moon Abridged, and then people are like, "Oh, why is she talking like this?" And it's like, I understand, not everyone's seen Sailor Moon Abridged, but you kind of answered your own question. No, it's all good though. Again, Team 4-Star alumni, and we were kind of quote unquote nobody, and. You know, from my understanding of it, Mike, you just kind of just like, pretty please, would you be interested? And she obliged. It was very, very nice of her.
It's actually kind of nice, too, because there's a lot of these videos I haven't watched in at least a year or 2 years. Sometimes it's, like, I haven't watched the Sailor Moon one all the way through, so this is kind of cool, like, being able to look at, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, I wish I would do more stuff, like, editing techniques. I wish I'd do more of that. And there are other times where I'm like, oh, my God, why did I do that? But,
yeah. The creator's always hardest on themselves. Is that that's an unwritten rule somewhere? Again, nobody quote me on that.
I would I would love to do another Sailor Moon video, just because I think there's enough to do another one. And you know, there's a couple other videos that I think would be really cool to have a second one in, because you know, one of the things that me and Johnny go through a lot is, you know, I'm sure people have been asking this, like, why isn't the video longer, or why isn't there, you know, why didn't this fact get talked about? Well, I can trust you, we didn't miss it. Like, there's a really good chance that we saw exactly what you said, but, you know, the whole point is to have these to be digestible, like 5 minutes long, and, you know, there's also a lot of stuff that's just kind of random. It doesn't really fit, you know, like, just whatever you're trying to get across. Like, if you're like, when Adam, what's his face from the Food Network was doing Man vs. Food, he would do a lot of the same foods just in different cities. Like, I'm going to do all pizzas, or I'm going to do all burgers, or whatever. It's kind of the same thing with facts. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we would love to put in there, but for the next episode, you know, like, let everything have its own time.
Although we do like the comments, though, of this, so it's fun getting everybody involved. But you know, absolutely, they're not, again, not to toot our own horns or anything, but there is something to not only doing the research and getting qualified and reliable sources, but then you gotta put, we try our best anyway to make it fit and have the sections kind of have their own little themes. And I'm pretty sure we've said this before somewhere, but people kind of ask about, the ravioli, give me the formioli, and there's some of that, but each episode is its own beast.
Oh, each episode is very much its own beast. There is no such thing as an assembly line. Like, every single one of these, for lack of a better term, it's like digital anime is kind of like a mom and pop shop. Like, every single episode is its own thing that you have to love and nurture in a different way. It's like being a coach. Like, sometimes you want to, you know, push them, and other times you just want to be like, no, we'll look at it differently. But
with love in every stitch.
Oh, here we go. The first one that you did, John.
Yay,
the first script that you completely did.
Debut. So all of those other 3, phenomenally well written. That was all Mike, and of course all the video editing and everything else. And here, finally, an anime that I knew more than Mike, and I
Is
could
such
help.
a thing even possible?
I know, right? This cannot be. But not just to jump on the bandwagon, which I think it was you, Mike, who kind of said it. It seems like Full Metal Alchemist is kind of becoming the new Bebop on the internet, but
It's not the new Bebop?
But I really do. I do love Full Metal Alchemist.
I mean, it's a phenomenal series.
Sure
Like,
is.
there's a reason that the 2003 series is so well beloved, is because it was a game changer. It was completely different than anything else at the time, and I really liked, you know, like, a lot of this stuff I didn't know, like this connection to the novels and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And fantastic job. I always worry about that. Sometimes I get a little verbose, but one, you as my editor really helped with that, Mike, and 2, great narrators like Falero in this episode, doing a great job trudging through all of that.
The first series takes this more literally.
Which, no promises, but since we're, you know, not everyone's going to be watching these, I'll just go ahead and, you know, say, Full Metal's another one of those, like Sailor Moon. It's,
Where's my script?
It's got a lot to it, and, I hypothetically would like to hypothetically do another episode someday, absolutely. We'll have to wait and see, though. Oh man, seeing that, I know we missed it, but seeing that Full Metal Alchemist movie where they literally have, you know, the Nazis and Hitler and stuff, that was so cool, first time seeing that.
Kind of makes me wonder, this is slightly off topic, not a whole lot to do with Full Metal Alchemist, but it makes me wonder if they'll ever attempt to make an anime version of Adolf, which is a manga. And it was, I mean, it's actually, it looks like it's a pretty decent manga. It's not just like Mein Kampf the manga. But
Man.
It's just interesting because anime does stuff. Anime and manga do stuff different. Like this right here. Like I know a lot of people were talking in the comment section about Jesus and Buddha meeting, and it's like, well, I mean, which Buddha, one, and two, like, to say specifically whether or not they did is were you there? Like.
Absolutely, and I did, my little loophole is there are religious sources. It's certainly not, I'm not a Buddhist expert, but I'm certainly not main canonical versions of the respective religions, probably not. But, again, yeah, hey, the whole, maybe not Gautama Buddha, but a reincarnation thereof, and so there was kind of fun stuff. I remember that even before seeing Full Metal Alchemist, people talking about, hey, wait a minute, at one point Jesus, he does go into the desert, and you look where like the Bible would have taken place, they would have been going east, and China, that's the west, and of course maybe we'll get into this in another episode, but there's definitely a lot of allegory there with the Silk Road throughout history, where Europe and China were connected, and you had merchants traveling through the deserts and stuff, and a lot of cross-pollination, if you will, of trade and ideas and religious ideas, and so it's fun to, through a work of fiction like this, to speculate about things like that, and I will forever be a Arakawa fan. I think she's brilliant.
And the Mi-28 Havoc for Second Lieutenant
Covered right over top of Black Hayate. I'm kind of glad that I don't do the full pictures anymore. Like I used to like that. I like doing that, but then it was kind of like it kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
Yeah, I remember something about that too. Me being like overly picky about that too. It was some sort of weird cutaway from Hawkeye, and I was like, please fix it, Mike. And you're like, okay.
Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And Hiromi Arakawa, people caught on pretty quick there. I was happy with that. And once again, thank you, Falero. He's a funny guy. Also does Danganronpa Abridged, which is every bit as funny as Full Metal Alchemist, if not more so. So check it out. Oh man.
Oh boy,
Set
One
sail
Piece.
for One Piece.
Oh my god.
I will say this, if I may. I will say this. If anyone hears at the end Mr. Purple Eyes saying he did all of this in one take, he's not lying.
He did.
That is true.
One take.
He did it all in one take. That is true. And
let me just put it this way. I would love, more than anything, I don't have the money for it, and this is why it's a Patreon goal. I would love more than anything to have animated bloopers for everybody to hear, because I would put the stuff that he said in there because it's hilarious.
man.
But it's just not.
It didn't lend itself to editing all the time.
No.
But
he still did a great job.
Perks is a force of nature. Like, I think I remember some of the comments. People are like, "You got him to sit still for 5 minutes to do this," and it's like that in itself was a feat. And he's I've never met him in person, but just from hearing him and I haven't even watched One Piece, but I watched his One Piece abridged, and it's hilarious. And I think he also does. I haven't watched as much, but I think he did some Code Geass abridged, and he's a hilarious guy, absolutely. So it really was exciting to get to work with him, that he was willing to do that. So thank you, Mr. Purple Eyes.
The One Piece rap is ranked rather positively among all.
Now the One Piece rap.
Speaking of
Still have people talking about that. Go to any one of the, like, people can shit on 4Kids for a lot of different things, but they knew how to produce music. They produced the Pokemon opening, so I mean, you know, even Yu-Gi-Oh, like, people still use Duel. Like, that's because that's, you know, it sticks with people. They knew exactly how to grip people, and the One Piece rap was no different.
I mean, yeah, say the first few lines of the Pokemon song at your local convention and see what happens. Like, bet my right arm, somebody's gonna finish it for you. Oh man, I remember his, I can't remember his name, but Purple Eyes did him as, Christopher Walken. It sounded like this. It was very amusing. Oh man.
Because many of these comparisons were just more than a simple resemblance, many have called into question where the line is drawn on what is homage and what is directly stealing. Aspects of One Piece are actually based on real events and real people from the history of pirates.
What is homage? I'll take what is homage for 500, Alex.
Our pirate lords turned privateers.
You know, I have to give it to anybody who watches One Piece and sticks up with it, or keeps up with it, because 400, 500, 600 episodes now, like, that takes some real commitment.
Good for you. And you know, I personally have never jumped on board that ship, pun intended.
You're fired.
If that's even a pun. Oh, well, I gotta bow out, everybody. I just got fired. Yeah, I knew my bad jokes were gonna cost me big one day, and those chicks finally came to roost. But no, I like, it's just for somebody who has not gotten into it and too busy as it is. I mean, there's a lot of anime on my backlist I want to get to, and it's like One Piece. It's like they're still going, and it's hundreds of episodes. It's like I can never jump on board that. So this was fun, just of all the stuff that I got to learn from it, just watching it, because I don't know that much about One Piece.
Find my treasure, ye who understand it. Unlike One Piece, Levar's treasure was separated into.
I tell you though, if anybody has not seen it, there's another maybe someday, no promises, but yes, would like to. But you know, you watch, if you're a One Piece fan and haven't done so, watch Rurouni Kenshin sometime. They're definitely their own thing, but you'll see that the guy behind Rurouni Kenshin and the guy behind One Piece, there's some connection there. I did it all in one take.
I know what you're thinking. Wow, pretty good for a first take. You're right, it was. Why are you still watching this? I doubt he's going to leave all this in, to be honest. I wouldn't. I would.
I don't even know if he meant to, but he kind of slipped into Christopher Walken there at the end. Why are you still watching this?
This was another big one. Dragon Ball Z.
Man, here we go.
Did you know Dragon Ball Z has many.
And again, you know, we're gonna, like, I don't care that it's repetitive. We're gonna say this about everybody. But again, Mr. Masako X, very nice guy, very cool guy.
Also, I want to jump in here real quick. What's happening right now on screen with the dog? He is not raping her right there. Like, he just jumped on top of her actually to try and save her. But unfortunately, that's just what it looks like. They actually love each other. I know that sounds even weirder, but that's exactly what's happening on screen. So there's a lot of people who, you know, really misconstrued that. I'm like, no, that's not. Even though it was an OVA, that's not what happened in Hakkenden.
It's okay. It was consensual. Oh god.
Majin Buu and the two alien wizards.
The love between a woman and a thing.
And a
godmother in the 1950s animated feature Cinderella.
Yeah, I remember seeing that as a kid and being like, bibbity bobbity, did they mean to do that? And then getting to come back to this years later and just like, yep, it's exactly what you think it is.
Speculate and converse about what should be done. One suggestion to notify the police is countered with,
"Yeah, right. What'll they do? They'll just say it's a weather balloon."
That's a pretty odd-looking weather balloon.
I love that he did that. I remember, like, the first time seeing this, I was like, I think I asked you, I was like, Mike, that was him, right? He did that. You
yes,
didn't, like...
that was him.
And you were like, yep. You said, yep. That was fun.
Didn't exist before certain sagas.
See, this is the thing that I really like about doing Did You Know Anime, is finding about how, like, this is my favorite part, is finding out about the stuff that didn't make it in, or the stuff that's, you know, like, stuff with the creators. And, like, just the fact that the editors, like, people have such a godlike appreciation of Akira Toriyama, but his editors looked at it and were like, I think you can do better. And he did. Like, he created Cell from that.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I think people naturally sometimes have knee-jerk reactions or kind of ire for editors sometimes, but oftentimes a good editor, that's exactly what they do. It's almost like, I mean, it's not really, but kind of, I don't know, like a personal trainer or something, you know what I mean? Like like you said, so if you have a great creator, a great creative person like Toriyama, and you had a great editor on top of that, and you kind of have somebody to bat ideas back and forth with, and somebody who's not afraid to kind of push you a little bit, like, because I think we can all agree here, me being a longtime DBZ fan, the androids were cool, but imagine that whole saga without Cell. Like, it wouldn't be as cool.
Have been the same at all.
It wouldn't be as cool. Like, so he made it better, and that shows that's big of Akira Toriyama, because sometimes there are creators that are like, oh, kind of George Lucas syndrome, like, how dare you question me? Like, oh, I have the grand vision all in my head, and that's that. Don't question me. But somebody who's willing to consider other ideas and stuff like that.
This is something else really cool that I liked was this OVA in particular. Even, a lot of people were saying in the comment section, like, oh, well, technically it's not lost because it was, because they had an animated version of it that came out, reanimated version. It's like, but this version right here, this OVA, has never been released in English. The original has never been released in English subtitled or dubbed. And that, to me, like, you think about how big Dragon Ball Z is, and you think about, people like to make the joke, oh, well, Funny likes to, Funny being Funimation, likes to re-release it all the time, but stuff like this is still, it's still out there that they could, get a hold of and create little nuggets like this for fans later on. So I think it's really cool when stuff like that happens. Anything that's lost is really cool.
Absolutely. And I'll stand by that. I had no idea about that existence. And the fact, like you said, it's Dragon Ball Z, but it hasn't been dubbed, it hasn't been released over here, and probably never will at this rate. That's... If it was truly lost, okay, I guess no one would ever hear about it. But the fact that we just heard about it, but we haven't gotten it over here, I call that a lost OVA.
Also, real quick, again, big shout out to Matsuko X. Another big shout out to, obviously, Team 4-Star. And finally, yes, there is a warning right there, people. You're not going to have fucking epilepsy.
Maybe we should have made the warning blinking.
Maybe we should put it across the whole screen.
Brightly colored.
And also a shout out to Kalzenshu, because they were the people who had a lot of that info. And now Pokemon. And a funny little thing about Pokemon, all of these video clips that you see right here, these are all from the Japanese version. None of these are from the English version. With the exception of the opening.
I did not know that.
Yep, those were hard to find, too.
I didn't know that, people. And I'm on the team. Yeah, and this was one that, and we had other videos subsequently, but this was kind of, I think, one of the first ones where people were like, he couldn't have meant that.
I mean, honestly,
he couldn't have, and it's like...
I basically wrote the entire script around that quote, because I saw that quote and I nearly crapped a brick. I was like, oh my god, like, that... A creator of Pokemon said that? Like, I have to turn this into a thing. And then Takashi Shudo is just like... He's kind of like the... I'm gonna say curmudgeonly guy who's like, screw what the suits say, I'm gonna write whatever I want. And I mean, in a way, it's what made Pokemon so good early on. It's because he looked at the characters different than just kids. Like, he looked at them as functioning characters in a society aimed around these fantastic beings. and I think it really, and aside from the fact he was a good writer, but rest in peace, but it was something else to have some of the stuff that he wrote down.
And whenever we get that kind of reaction, we're not trying to paint anybody in a negative light or badly or something. We're just these are the
presenting
facts,
what
people.
they said.
And there's the infamous. Don't want to induce it, but no, it's I don't blame people because that was exactly my reaction. That was my reaction for. We'll get to it towards the tail end of this season of creator. Did he really say that? And it's like, yeah,
trust me, like
really
that's what he said. Like there wasn't just aimed around that. Like that was, and like I said, we're not trying to paint a narrative. Like we're not trying to tell people to think one way or the other. We're just presenting something for people to make up their own decisions.
I never actually saw the. I remember hearing about that, but I never actually saw the blue popo.
Oh, I think Blue Popo came
Much
later on.
Yeah.
But Jinx got changed immediately because, and I thought this was funny. Like the original version of, well, as funny as could be possible, but that they would do something like that with Lenora, but based on that stereotype.
Oh, the apron. Like, well, it's one of those things. Like, yeah, me as a kid, not in a million years would I think of that. You know what I mean? Like kids aren't going to think of that. I think a lot of adults wouldn't have even thought of that. But I do see why studios want to play things safe at times, and absolutely. But there are some times when it's like. It's almost like by changing it, you bring attention to something that otherwise innocent children would never have even, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this was a potentially racist thing. It's like, what's racism? Oh, well, let me tell you a little, Timmy. Like, now we have to explain to you why you need to be offended by this. But no, there are times when that's absolutely very legitimate.
I always thought it was really cool how the Pokemon series would, especially as a kid, how they would show Gen 2 Pokemon early on, like seeing Ho-Oh or, seeing, Snubbull and Meryl, who was infamously dubbed Peekaboo back in the day. God, so you think about all that stuff that went around, all those rumors and whatnot, like, that was always a really cool thing to keep you hooked into the series.
I tell you, that kind of thing, especially, too, in a largely pre-internet world, like, that's all you had. That's all you had sometimes, people.
Well, and I think that really helped it, too, because, like, it gave people the ability to kind of use their imagination. They didn't just rely on quote-unquote the word of God. Like, they kind of were like, oh, man, I wonder what that is. That's so cool. And, I mean, in some fandoms, they create entire, quote-unquote fanins around stuff like that. And I think, sometimes it can be really weird, but I think stuff like that is really cool.
And before we forget, if we didn't say so already, thank you, Lily Pichu.
Indeed.
Did a fantastic job with this.
That's all for today.
She's another one really that gave us a chance because she's huge now.
Yeah,
not like she was small back
too.
then, but it's crazy looking back at a lot of this stuff now.
Which makes you feel good. Like I must have seen something in it. Must have seen. Why would you sign on for something if you didn't believe in it in a little bit? And speaking of, perfect segue.
Did you know?
Mike, maybe you can do justice, but
I'll give it a shot.
It's hard to explain to people. I'm sure when we say August Ragone, it's not a household name. You're gonna go, who's August Ragone? It's hard to overstate the man, the legend.
A lot of people don't understand. Like, it's crazy to think that there's a lot of people now who aren't growing up with Naruto anymore. Like, we've gone past that era now. But if you gave, so as our good friend Chuck Locker, who's helped write a couple of scripts, has done, if you would give social security numbers to anime fans, August Ragone would be either 1 or 2. He is doing now what guys like Arcata and other big reviewers of that ilk, he is doing now, or he is doing in the 1970s what they are doing now. There are videos of him talking about and using the same mannerisms as modern anime fans in the 70s, talking about this very show, Space Battleship Yamato. Like, and I mean, I know this video doesn't have a lot, but like, Did You Know Anime isn't just about big shonen series or really popular series. It's about all of anime, because me and Johnny, we both love anime as a whole. And getting somebody like August Ragone to do this was a pleasure beyond being able to put it into words. Like, I can't put it into words how much of an honor it was, because he is such an amazing guy, and he's done so much for anime fandom over the years. And to put it bluntly, you know those Dos Equis commercials, that meme guy? He is that to anime. Like, he's done everything you can think of, and then some.
And I mean, we only got like 5 minutes here, so I mean, you doing an interview with him. If people want to hear more, I think when I was listening to it, you guys like talked for like an hour and a half or whatever, and there's just a boatload. Pun intended. No, submarine. There's a lot of
that's something else I want to bring up too about August is like we talked for like 5 hours, and I cut that down to like 2. But he knows more than just about like 1 or 2 shows. Like, last time I talked to him, he has like a bookshelf of nothing but Japanese autobiographies and memoirs, stuff that we would lose our minds if we ever got in English. And he just can pull them off of his shelf and be like, oh yeah, that's where Tomino said this, and it's like, oh my god, like that blows my mind. So no, this video might not be very big to some people, but this, to me, and I'm sure to Johnny, and to anybody who cares about the Leiji-verse, or Space Battleship Yamato, or Captain Harlock, or whatever, like this is a treat for the the old school anime fan.
If I may, to try to tie in for the old to the new for the kids out there in the memes, this was Mike and I's senpai noticed me. Okay, that's what this was. Oh my, August Ragone's good. Oh my god! And so, man, and big thanks again. Yeah, previously mentioned you, Chuck Locker. Was involved in this one a lot, in script writing, and going to Cosmo DNA originally, and getting in contact with Tim Eldred, and I think that's kind of how we got to Roundabout Way to August. And thank you, Mr. Ragone, for doing this. This is, I mean, I showed this to one of my former professors when it was just like, I can't remember what we were corresponding about, but this horrible economy right now, and then going out into it with a film studies degree, it's like, lol, have fun with that. And she was honestly worried about, we were talking about grad school, and she was kind of just worried about recommending people going into the field right now or whatever, and I showed her this. I'm like, here's kind of what I'm working on right now, and she was like, wow, like she was impressed. I was like, so that's just one of many instances where this whole journey has just been so personally gratifying.
But with Matsumoto at the helm, a series of 6 games.
It's also crazy to think like how big Space Battleship Yamato is as a franchise in Japan. Like, again, modern anime fans don't really have a concept of it, but Yamato in Japan is kind of like Star Wars here. Like, that's the level of respect that the series has, and like, bear in mind that the people who go on, like, we're talking about Yamato 2199, the new series. The people who worked on that series, to them it was an honor beyond honors. Like, originally, this didn't show up in the video, but Hideaki Anno was actually supposed to be the original director. Like, that was a huge deal because it's Yamato. That's how much respect the series has. and he ended up, I believe, if I remember August correctly, he directed the opening, but because he had to work on I think it was the Ava films at the time, he wasn't able to do it. But like I said, check out August, check out everything he does, because he is the anime guru in many, many ways.
All about Star Blazers and Yamato at
And Godzilla to boot.
And Godzilla, I mean, he's the man.
So many things, really. A lot of hats.
Oh boy, Bleach.
Bleach. The number 2 of the big 3.
Did you know? There have been a number of controversies related to Bleach and its characters. When Ichigo is learning how to use
Kenpo,
his brain, the
fabulous
symbol
job.
to represent his awakening power was that of the swastika. In the anime, this symbol is changed to a more square-like shape, removing the
And yes,
of the original symbol.
we kind of get into this with, I think, Yu Yu Hakusho, which, that's season 2. We won't be doing that now. So yes, it's not.
The importance of the swastika in Bleach is that
it's not a swastika, but it's that the fact that that symbol, it looks almost just like it. It's the fact that it looks like a swastika, and it's, for Western viewers, you've got all that baggage, if you will, of Nazi connotations, unintentional or otherwise, and so that's why that kind of thing usually has to get axed, like.
Fucking Incarnate. I remember when Incarnate was like the middle of that controversy was happening, right as it was happening, because it was just like, and that's actually Tight Kubo, which was a flub on our part, but I mean that's something else that we had talked about. But anyway, on Incarnate, I'll talk about that in a second. Incarnate was kind of funny because Nick Simmons, Gene Simmons' son, that's so big. But as far as like Japanese goes, I think a lot of people misgive like how much you actually have to know about the language to get this stuff right. It takes a tremendous amount, and we earlier on less so, but especially now, we will run when we get something translated or we have it translated ourselves, and we double check it and we triple check it, and we have 3 or 4 people that we run it by who were either lived in Japan, are students of Japanese, or are Japanese teachers themselves, and are like, and we triple check, like, is this exactly what this says? Because stuff like that is so like, especially when you're not when you're not into a show 100%. You can't be a super fan of everything, like that just that's too much time. It's incredibly hard. Like sometimes that's going to happen. You're going to have a flub up, but I don't it's you live and learn.
I would be suspicious of anybody who says they're a super fan of like all anime, like just every no. It's kind of like if you have a Better Call Saul or some kind of attorney in the Yellow Pages. I remember somebody telling me this. Like the more things they say he or she they say they specialize in, the less confidence you should have in them. It's like, okay, like like you and me, Mike. It's like, hey, we're like Tenchi Muyo experts and a few other franchises, but are we Bleach experts? No.
It's kind of like when people tell you to know what we do. It's kind of like if it's a show we don't know at all, it's literally like dropping 10 books in front of us and being like, all right, now know everything about this show in 2 weeks. Because that's basically what it is. And there are going to be times where you're gonna trip a little bit sometimes. But getting back on Bleach, one of the things I really liked about Bleach was the music. I think the music in Bleach was like, I loved. One of my favorite parts about doing digital anime is sitting down and listening to the soundtracks, because I'll find a soundtrack somewhere and I'll sit down and just listen to the whole thing. And Bleach is one of those shows that has a really phenomenal soundtrack. I'm more into rock and metal myself, so any show that emphasizes that even a little bit, I really, really enjoy.
That's all for today.
Man, how about that's a really cool, unintended but awesome consequence of what you do, man. You get to hear all these soundtracks that you probably otherwise wouldn't have been exposed to.
Yes, and go check out Kenpo. The dude is a really, really great voice actor, and you should put him in more of your stuff. He's a cool dude.
Now, get Sugatensho the hell out of here.
I forgot. I like that ending. That was a cool ending you did. It's funny, yeah, you're right. I haven't watched these in so long. I'm like, what's next?
Oh man, yeah, you're looking forward to it.
Kill la Kill.
Throughout the series, Kill la Kill shares various aspects.
And then I like when fans catch on. A lot of times, we do kind of we have fun with these, and the narrators doing these have fun with them as well. So a lot of people did pick up on it, which I loved. You know, Holden doing this, one, working with us, extremely grateful, and two, that really shows to me that that's one of the things I look for in like a quote-unquote professional critic or somebody who reviews stuff. Is Holden has garnered a reputation for he didn't really like Kill la Kill, but that's subjective, you know? He can still tell you facts about it, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things, the separating of objective facts from subjective preferences, that just one of those things. Again,
he never let on once that he didn't like the series. In fact, I didn't even find out until people started talking in the comment section. I was like, what? He hates it. Like, I never, because like I said, he is the very picture of a consummate professional. He was just like, oh yeah, cool, I'd love to, and then did the whole thing perfectly, and I was just like, wow, bravo to you, sir, because I don't know if I would have been able to do that about some of the series that, you know, I'm not a big fan of.
Maishi, most known for his art style and directing on shows such as Gurren Lagann and Panning Stocking, said in an interview that his work on Kill la Kill started as
I still haven't finished Kill la Kill. I need to one of these days.
I was kind of waiting on the dub to come out, so I think that's definitely something to return to.
Which is pretty good. I watched a few episodes of it. It's really good. I think Matt Mercer is leading role. He did a great job, and maybe one of these days I'll do an article about it too. But it's a fascinating work. I'll say that. And I saw comments on this one in other videos too, which we absolutely learn as we're doing scripts. Is like, wow, there's more to Kill la Kill than I thought, and that so often is the case with everything. Even if you want to just say, even me, admittedly, kind of subjectively wanting, when I first saw it coming out, kind of wanting to say, yeah, pandering, yeah, fan service, but there's a lot more to it than that.
This part, the Otoko Gumi one, I had looked into this and looked at the background, but it wasn't until I actually found it and started looking at it that, well, no, because I think it was Hiroyuki Imaishi who said, oh yeah, it's basically, he himself said it's basically a gender-bent version of this manga I like called Otoko Gumi. And then as you're looking at the pictures here, it's like, that's literally what he did. Like, he took that and flipped it and then made it his own in a very Gainax-y kind of way. And I was like, you know, I didn't see people talking about that a lot, but you know, I thought that was pretty cool.
It's crazy, right?
And then naturally we have the connections to Gainax, because Hiroyuki Imaishi was obviously a big part of, you know, Gainax's success, as were many people in Gainax, and, you know, creating some of the most well-known series that people know.
So that was really cool. I think that was earlier on, but yeah, that was a great fact you got in there, that like how if ifs and buts were candy and nuts or whatever, I mean, just in an alternate reality, in an alternate universe somewhere, Kill la Kill is a studio Gainax production. I mean, it's just funny how things work out that way, you know?
Like Dead Leaves in the Forest, which is a reference to 2004's Dead Leaves, which was also directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi. The Revox HQ and passage throughout the episode shares many striking similarities.
Of course, some Ava love.
Oh, I mean, what series doesn't reference Ava?
Right?
Situated bear blood red logos with capital letters on them, much in the same fashion of Nerve's logos on the Tokyo 3 buildings. Also,
this part right here, like that, they totally were like, all right, we're gonna make Gendo's office.
Right? There's no beating around the bush with that scene there.
There's actually a lot of cool facts that I found about Ragyo that I would love to make a Kill la Kill episode 2 about. There's some really cool stuff in there.
You know, and I never found like hard evidence for it, and which is one of those things. If there's not hard evidence, we're not going to talk about it. But I really got some Project A-ko vibes with some of Kill la Kill 2, and I always wondered, you know, it's one of those things. If I was in a room with so and so, the things I would ask them, and you never know.
I'd appreciate it if you checked it out and told me
And
what
people
you
are
think.
absolutely right. No,
Until next time,
every
signing off,
franchise, there's more to it than 5 minutes can cover, and it's just we got to try to pick them. So once again, thank you, Holden, for that episode. That was
This is another
brilliant.
one that was all Johnny.
Woo!
Meaning
I'm so glad. This one, it's funny how it came together, because I kind of had to pitch it to you, Mike, and then it was like we were having a hard time finding, the first time ever having that problem, kind of having a hard time finding a narrator for it, and
creator Hidekazu Himaria
Aveen,
and
it's
Hetalia.
very, very, very gracious
To
of her
this day,
to
Himaria not only
do this
continues as a
for us.
regular manga,
This isn't
but also stays
usually
very
her forte,
involved
not her
with
cup of
all
tea,
of
if
the
you
world
will.
via his personal blog. This
Yeah,
expert
she's primarily a streamer now. She really doesn't do YouTube anymore, but I knew her through connections, we'll say that way. And
No face.
I was just like, hey, would you want to do this? Because there's not really, like, there's people who have done Hetalia reviews, but, you know, there are a lot of anime YouTubers or YouTube anime people who have, like, an anime that they are really about, but Hetalia really doesn't have that. Hitalia's just, you know, it's just not, there wasn't really a face of Hetalia in the fandom as far as, like, someone on YouTube. And so, I think this was a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, and it, you know, this, I don't even remember how I got into Hetalia, and I'm not like, it's sad. Maybe every fandom has it, but Hetalia is one of those fandoms with a reputation, I guess. But, you know, it's like, so I don't know. I guess I'm not a, you know, crazy Hetalia fan. Kind of like, you know, I never identified as a brony, but I saw like the first couple seasons of My Little Pony, and I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's good. But something about Hetalia, I think it's because Hetalia is so much, which was an interesting challenge writing the script, because every episode you get, even though they're so short, you get a lot of trivia, literal trivia in the episode, and it's all like World War II history stuff, and it's just really funny subject material. And the dub, I fell in love with the dub. I don't even remember how, but maybe it was Netflix. I can't remember. But once I started watching it, I was like, this is funny, and I don't care what genre it is. I don't care what demographic it's supposed to be for. That's how I am, and I think people ought to be that way with whatever. Like what you like.
Yeah, I actually sat down. I would have never watched Hetalia otherwise, but I sat down, and obviously I have to watch a couple episodes of a show that I don't know anything about, and I thought it was funny. Like, I watched it dubbed. I didn't watch it subbed, which I've heard from a lot of people that the dub for Hetalia is incredibly funny and incredibly well done. So, I mean, it's pretty much what it is. Like, it's a fun series.
And it's like, it is what it is. Like, it's whether you're watching the sub or the dub, although the dub does kind of kick it up a notch, I think, sometimes, but it's you know, it pokes fun at countries and stereotypes and stuff like that, all in good fun. I think is it's almost healthful. And speaking as an American saying this, America gets it a lot in this, and I think that's hilarious.
Which unfortunately still causes many Chinese families to go to extreme ends to fulfill their preference of raising a boy over a girl.
I remember that was kind of this was a big first test for us on when we learned that lesson that every episode is its own beast. I mean, I remember you being like, man, I don't know, and granted, that was really unorthodox in a way, even though our whole process feels like that sometimes, but that whole section was about like China's gender ambiguity. And I'm sure now with wikis and stuff, it's a lot, people go, oh, what are you talking about? Some people, oh, it's not a thing. But I saw some comments where they're with me like, you know, in the older days it was like, and of course if you see some of the comics, it's a little more apparent, but it's, I remember for a while it was just up in the air, it depended on whom you asked.
Most notably after World War II, leading many to suspect that the character of Germany would, at one time, have specific...
So I like this history trivia right here. Like, it seems like it would be really easy, but there's a lot behind it because of just the nuance of how, you know, the characters are talking and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Plus, you're dealing with...
more offensive than the
I
original.
don't know how to explain it. I mean, because you're dealing with objective history a lot, which is nice, but a lot of times, too, even though when you're watching the dub, you're watching an anime, so you as an American doing research on this, you're watching a Japanese person's, and it's not like you can put in one bottle, oh, here's the Japanese perspective on something, you know, everybody's got their own individual, so you're looking at a Japanese person's perspective on all these other countries, including your own, completely from the outside, and so it was fun. It was a fun experience.
Are they still doing Italia?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't looked in a while. I don't know. That's a good question. Did you know? I guess I didn't.
What are we doing, John? We've lost control of our lives.
I mean, that blew me away about Italia taught me about micronations. I didn't know about micronations. That's a whole thing. People on an island just will start saying, "Oh, I'm a nation now."
Or just type in AEVYNNE.
Hey, Taco.
I think the big one's coming up next, isn't it?
Your dog's name. Oh, are we here? We are.
We are there.
Woo! I can't believe we're already.
Hey, the new
Right
logo,
at the end.
the now logo. Oh man.
Many characters and
You know,
God, that nostalgia, man.
we can't. There's no way we could explain in the few minutes we have left how personally special this was for us. Mike and I, how we met, actually, we go way back into, you know, and Mike doesn't want to toot his own horn because he's a cool guy, but what we were saying earlier about Outlaw Star and Mantis, just substitute for X and Y for Tenchi Muyo and Mike here. I mean, you know, I'll bet the farm on it. You know, nobody. I was gonna say outside of Japan, but even then, you know, nobody knows more about Tenchi Muyo than Mike. I mean, he's kind of the epicenter of it, and drew a lot of us together, and it was a great time. This was years ago. I'm sure we'll get into it more later, but during this process of doing podcasts for years and doing con appearances and stuff, we got the amazing opportunity to become acquainted with Patria Burchard, who is the narrator here, of course, and who is the English voice of Ryoko, and she's like the main character of Tenchi Muyo and a mutual favorite character of ours, and so this was
I think this was one of my favorite comment sections of all time, because people were like, how did you get Ryoko? Like, this was kind of the one that people really paid attention to, and this is also one of my favorite comment sections because it's the only comment section where no one has ever said, I knew everything in the video.
Man, this is one of the rare times, I think, where we actually, it wasn't a matter of like, oh, how much juicy stuff can we get? It was like, we gotta pull our punches here.
Yeah, we had, oh god, like, I mean, this right here, like, this fact, people don't realize, like, the impetus of, or I guess the precipitation or whatever fun English major word I can pull out of my butt, is so steeped in just inability to get some, information from, that just the fact that we got to that conclusion over, it took like 15 years for the English fandom to get there, simply because of where it was at. And like these pictures right here, these black and white pictures, you won't find these on a wiki. Hayashi's picture, you won't find that in a wiki. Kajishima's picture, you won't find that in a wiki. Like, this is stuff that we were really breaking to people.
Yeah, that middle section, and I'm sure a lot can be said for other series, perhaps, but it's just because we have such a connection to this franchise that we know, and we can tell you firsthand, what you get in this little, probably 2.5 minutes or whatever, of that middle section, that's like 15 years worth. Mike's not even exaggerating. Maybe 12 years, 15 years of just, like, the Dark Ages, and just debate, and just people who didn't know Japanese trying to pass off to other people who didn't know Japanese what such and such said, and people literally, for goofs and giggles, intentionally sometimes, throwing out stuff that wasn't even properly translated. mistranslated on purpose, and it was just a mess.
Oh, like this part right here. Like, if this were any other franchise, they would have fucking hung him from a tree. Like, I'm just the fact that he would say something like that. Like, people need to understand that's exactly what happened. Like, it wasn't. This is one of those examples where it wasn't executives meddling. It was one guy literally telling the company, like, I don't like it, I'm changing it, deal with it, and the rest is history, you know. And again, we're not trying to say here nor there. That is literally what he said, you know. It's just, it is what it is.
I mean, we looked at the original, we had professional translators looking at it, and also that was one where you had on the official website of the English company, that's what it said in the official translation. So it's literally like our professionals are getting the same thing that their professionals, and they're literally professionals paid to do it, got 20 years ago. And it's just like, if X equals X and X equals X and X equals X in 19 whatever and X equals X in 2015, X is still X. But
also, this Tokyo special is probably one of the greatest things that Tenchi Muyo ever made, and most English fans didn't even know it existed.
Again, like some other things you mentioned, no dub. Never got a dub, so...
If you hated Tenchi in Tokyo, this episode would make you like Tenchi in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Like, it should have been with the set. I think it would have legitimately changed people's minds.
And if you like Tenchi in Tokyo, you would like it. And you'll notice the ending of this one was a little different, and the reason for that was this was a very special episode to us, and if you're a Tenchi Universe fan, you picked up on that. Congratulations. Oh, and thank you so much, Patria.
And like I said,
she's literally the nicest human being on the planet.
She is.
And
I mean, there are not enough words to say how nice Patria is, and yes, you should go friend her on Facebook. She is an incredibly amazing person, and somehow, Johnny, we got to the end of this thing. This is the end of the first season.
Wow. At the start, I was like, oh, here we go, how long we got to sit here, and before you know it, it flew by. I can't believe it, man. So I think that's the first time I've sat through just beginning to end on a season. I don't know if that's terrible of me to say or not, but...
Is there anything you want to say to the fans, Johnny, before we skedaddle?
Yeah, I guess I'll just say thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your continued support, those who have been with us since the beginning and have had the fun of seeing us grow, and those who are just now hopping on board here in 2016 or whenever. From Mike and I and all of us involved, and I think I can speak for, in this limited capacity, all of the narrators and all of the translation assistants we have had and all the fandoms we have encountered along the way. Just thank you. A sincere, heartfelt thank you. This is Mike's brainchild. And I'm grateful to you, Mike, to have been a part of it, and hope to continue. And I hope people enjoy it. I mean, that's why we do it. We do it because we enjoy it. We don't do this because anyone asked us to. It's as much as we would love it to be. It's not our day job, so we still have to deal with that.
I would love it to be, but unfortunately, we're not there yet.
But no, it's a labor of love, and we love doing it. And even though sometimes we're up all night and pulling our hair out and having
what's left of my hair,
we do love it. So that's my piece. Thank you everybody, and stick with us. We got a lot more fun places to go.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for Season 1 commentary. Make sure that you check out for when Season 2 commentary comes out, because this is going to be a regular thing. We're going to do commentary. We're going to put it all together and just go over each season as we do it. And you might just learn a little bit along the way, like we do when we always go back and look at these episodes. But as they say, Rolling Stone gathers no algae, so Stay dandy, everybody.